Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well rounded. What's going on around the world? If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's get started today. Sean Combs, if you ask me, he beat the case. I thought the case was total garbage from the beginning. Every single person involved in going to these freak offs was of age and went on their own consent. Sean Combs wasn't on trial for domestic abuse. He wasn't on trial because he was into a kinky sex life. So the charges that were brought against him to me were absolutely ridiculous. And that's what the prosecution tried to convict him on. They tried to get the jury emotional and try to make Cassie sound like an unwilling participant, and she was forced to do these things. Meanwhile, she went to these parties for more than 10 years on her own accord because she wanted to take part in them to further her music career. And it all it is a big money grab. And I'm glad that Sean Combs beat the case. So let's jump in to his charges. United States versus Sean Combs, count one, racketeering conspiracy, not guilty, was an absolute ridiculous charge by the prosecution. If you're a racketeer, he would have had co-defendants sitting right next to him. This was by far a stretch and a reach. Again, when every single person wants to attend your party, nobody was forced to go there. And matter of fact, these parties went on for years with the same participants every single time. But hey, facts and logic and reason don't matter. In 2025, it's all about people's unchecked, crazy emotions. Everybody thinks now that the world operates off emotions, even prosecutors, never mind Democrats. Not guilty. Count two, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Sean Combs didn't force anybody to join these parties. You don't have to like the videos of him beating up Cassie, but I have bad news for you. This trial wasn't about him beating up Cassie or committing domestic violence. The statute of limitations for those charges ran out. Count three, guilty, transportation to engage in prostitution. So basically, I feel like the jury was like, oh, we got to get him on something. We can't just let him walk for wasting our time. So I have a question about this charge: transportation to engage in prostitution. Well, if Cassie was his girlfriend and not a prostitute, how is he being convicted of this? I'm just really, this whole thing to me just stinks to high heaven. Like, Sean Combs pissed off the wrong people. Maybe he didn't want to come out and fully support the Democratic Party. Nobody is going to make me believe that these parties went on for over 35 years and nobody in the FBI or the government or prosecutor's office knew what was going on. All of a sudden, now out of nowhere, everybody knows what's going on. I'm not buying it. The United States government knows everything. They know if you cheated on your tax return for $20, never mind what Sean Combs was doing. Count four, not guilty, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And then count five, guilty, transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, this is the other girl that he allegedly brought to the party. Another one of his so called girlfriends. She wasn't a prostitute. I almost feel like the jury's like, oh, we got to convict him on something because these serious charges, if the serious charges were dismissed, this whole case should have been dismissed. And for all the money grabbers out there, and this is what this is, Cassie today comes out and says, I don't want him to be released. I'm scared for my life. Cassie, give me a effing break. You went to these parties for years voluntarily. You never once drove to the FBI. You're so afraid, but you wrote a book about it and you testified in open court. You went on the witness stand and gave your full name. How come you didn't do a Jane Doe like the other witness if you're so scared? Why aren't you in the witness protection program? You know why? Because you're full of shit. Your music career fizzled. You got a $30 million lawsuit from Sean Combs. You wrote a tell all book. You wrote a book in detail what you did. You admitted on the stand that you were in love with Sean Combs. Is it just me? I don't operate off of emotions. I operate off of facts and the law. And as far as I'm concerned, Sean Combs should have been released today from jail on time served. Now he has to go for sentencing. For sentencing for what? Transport. If this is the case, prosecutors and the cops and the FBI, you better hang out in every bar every Friday night when men go in there and throw their money around and tell women, hey, come to my house in the Hamptons so we can bang and I'll buy you a pocketbook. Because that's the same thing that went on here. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So what this prosecutor did also, they were trying to make a name for themselves, and Sean Combs is a gigantic name, and the case backfired and fizzled. And things need to change in the United States of America with the law. You shouldn't be allowed to file charges 10, 20, 30 years after an incident. You should have 72 hours to file a charge. And if you don't, you're not allowed to file charges because you're seeing a lot of this in 2025 with the Me Too movement and all the pro feminists and all the man haters. They see a guy finally become successful. And then out of nowhere, he gets hit with a sexual assault lawsuit from 45 years ago. And the courts actually take the cases. You don't think there's something wrong with that? We haven't seen case after case where these women are lying just to get paid. Cassie isn't a victim here. I have bad news for everybody. Cassie was a willing participant. Yeah, I seen the video. I seen her get beat up in the hotel. She should have went to the cops right afterwards. What did she do? She went back for more. She told Puffy how much she loved those parties and how she was looking forward to the next one. Oh, let me guess, she was afraid, right? She was just so afraid. For 10 to 20 years, she was so afraid, but never once drove to the FBI office. Not until she had some children and her husband started to run out of money because they're not really famous. All of a sudden now she wants to bring charges against Sean Combs. It's a money grab. And you know what I love about this money grab? All the people that are suing Sean Combs civilly, because he was not found guilty of all these serious charges, it's going to be hard to get the money out of him. And you know what I would do if I was him? I would tell all these so-called victims, F you. You know what? I'd rather pay my lawyer millions to give you $1. That's what I would do. Sean Combs should not spend another day in jail, and come sentencing, he should be released that day. These convictions are absolutely ridiculous. Do you really think there's any man in prison right now Sean Combs has no prior history of criminal activity? None. You think there's any man in prison right now with these charges, transportation to engage in prostitution? So basically, soliciting is his charge, is his conviction. Soliciting at the federal level. What an embarrassment. I mean, this is just a pure disgrace. The federal government spent millions upon millions of dollars to convict Sean Combs of soliciting. Absolute effing joke. And it just came out that Sean Diddy Combs' verdict, live updates. Hip hop mogul denied bail after being found guilty of 2 of 5 counts, acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering charges. Okay, he was acquitted of sex trafficking charges. So his charges that he's convicted of equivalent to him going down the street and offering a female money for some sexual acts. And you think that he already spent a year in jail? That's not enough time. He's already done. Take your emotions out of it. At a hearing Wednesday evening, Judge Aron Subramanian denied defense request that Combs be released on a $1 million bond while he awaits sentencing. And then on top of it, he was willing to give $1 million to be out. There's people right now roaming the streets in New York and New Jersey that have murder charges, they literally have killed people. Carmelo Anthony's home right now. He's stabbed a kid in the heart, dead. You got people that have committed armed robberies and killed people. They're home on bail right now. And Sean Combs is in prison, and you think that's okay. And I'm not a Puffy fan. I say this all the time. I didn't need for this trial. Look, I don't like Sean Combs at all. I don't like his music, his clothing line, his personality. I don't like anything about him. He thinks he's God. I mean, honestly, I can't stand him. But I'm looking at it through the lens of right and wrong and the law. And the law is 1000% wrong in this entire thing. Sean Diddy Combs will remain in jail while he awaits sentencing for his conviction on 2 counts of prostitution-related offenses. A judge decided Wednesday evening. Hours earlier, jurors in Combs' federal criminal trial found that the hip-hop mogul, guilty of 2 of the 5 filed counts against him, acquitted him of the other 3. The 12-member panel acquitted Combs of the racketeering and sex trafficking, the most serious charges, but found him guilty of prostitution-related offenses. That translation, solicitation. And in New York City, in the state court, you know what solicitation is? It's not even a crime, it's a violation. It's not even a crime, it's a violation. It's not even a misdemeanor. But sitting in jail still. The 55-year-old who could have been sentenced to life in prison had been convicted of racketeering or sex trafficking, now faces maximum of 20 years in prison. At a bail hearing scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, Judge Arun Subramanian rejected a request from Combs' attorney that he be released on $1 million bond while he awaits sentencing, citing in part the defense's own testimony in the trial. At trial, the defense conceded defendant's violence in his personal relationship, he said, adding that the defense had failed to prove that Combs poses no danger to any person. That is total. He just got found not guilty. People don't, domestic violence abusers, how long do you think they go to prison for? I mean, if it's just a hit or a kick or slap, what do you think? How long do you, he's already been in jail for a year. What do you think he's going to do? He should do 10 years? I mean, let's be serious. The jury spent more than 12 hours across 3 days deliberating the case. On Tuesday afternoon, the panel said that it had come to an agreement on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, but was unable to reach a verdict on count 1, racketeering conspiracy. An hour into deliberations Wednesday, the jury sent a note telling the judge that it had reached a verdict on all 5 counts. Here we go again. So the judge, he sees Sean Combs get found not guilty of the most serious charges, is convicted of solicitation, but somehow the judge puts his personal feelings and makes his personal feelings involved, that he's a threat to the public. He just got found being not guilty of that. He should have been released right there on the spot. And I'm going to end it with this. Sean Combs, his day of sentencing, doesn't deserve to spend another day in jail. And no, I'm not a Sean Combs fan whatsoever. With that being said, thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.